This Craigslist ad right here has been putting in the work. So for the third week in a row, I have picked up another comic book collection based off of my Craigslist ad. If you watched my last two videos, you know that I've been buying collections pretty regularly for the last couple of weeks, and this week was no different. I had someone reach out again just a few days after I bought my last collection. Be sure to check out that video if you haven't yet. I'll link it right up here. This week wasn't really any different than the last two. I had someone reach out to me based off of my ad. They sent over some pictures. We negotiated a little bit, came up with a price we agreed upon, met up, and I got another collection. We'll get into price in a little bit, but let's go ahead and jump right into the collection and see what I picked up. All right, I'm going to pause the review of the collection for just a minute to talk about price. Now, the sellers had sent over a few pictures of this collection and indicated that they had some of these comics in bags, but they were, double bagged, things like that, and they didn't want to take additional pictures. So based off of the pictures that they sent over to me, I submitted an initial offer of $50, which actually I thought was a little bit high based on what I had seen. You couldn't really tell quality of these books with the pictures, so I was actually really kind of hesitant to even offer $50. Now, the sellers countered back with a request of $75. I definitely did not want to pay $75 for this collection, but they did, again mention that they had multiple books in some of those sleeves and a few more to go along with the collection. So I offered a counter offer of $60, which they did accept. Now, when I showed up to meet the sellers, they actually brought out a lot more comics than I was expecting. Now, I've picked up my fair share of comic book collections over the last few years, and I've had people bring them to me in all sorts of carrying containers. Everything from Tupperware containers, standard short and long boxes. I had one in a Coleman cooler. Check out that video as well if you haven't. I'll be sure to put a link in the description below. This one actually came out though in like a cloth bag. I don't know the material. It was kind of like a nylon, almost looked like a swimming or pool bag, a bag you take to the pool with like your towels and things like that. But anyhow, there were a lot more comics in this collection than the sellers had hinted at. Which that was great for me, right? We had already negotiated a price of $60, so everything else that was included here was just kind of a bonus. That just lowers the price of each individual book for me, and that allows me a little bit of wiggle room when I take the books that I want to get rid of over to my booth at the antique mall. That just gives me more profit space to recoup money on this collection, keep the books that I want, and get some money back on those that I sell. All right, so that's the story about the price that I paid for this. Let's go ahead and get back to the reviewing of this collection. All right, now as you saw, there are not a lot of big key books, but I did pull out 4 that I wanted to cover here in a little more depth. All right, first up is Uncanny X-Men 282. This is the first cover and cameo appearance of Bishop. This is a book that I've had in the past, but only the second printing. It was only until recently that I got a copy of the first print, like this one here, and so this is another that I'll be adding to the collection. Another X-Men title that really picked up some steam a couple weeks ago due to Disney's X-Men 97, and that is X-Men number 53. Here we have the first appearance of Onslaught, right? This book got really hot, really popular for a little while during the season. We'll see what season 2 of that show brings to us. Then we've got another first appearance here. That's New Mutants 87, first appearance of Cable. You'll notice this one has the gold background. That's because it is also a second printing. I've never actually owned the first print of this, but I do have multiple copies of the second printing. One of these days, I'm sure I'll end up with that red background first print. And last but not least, but probably my most exciting book out of this collection is Spawn number 1 in a newsstand copy. I've forever had direct edition copies of this book, and I actually do have another newsstand, but this one might be a little cleaner than the one that I had, so this one might swap out for the one that I've already had in the collection, but either way, this is just an awesome book to have in your collection, no matter what, if it's the direct or newsstand, but that newsstand just carries a little extra value with it. All right, well, I wanted to keep this one pretty short and sweet. You know, this was a pretty small collection, bigger than what they had advertised, of course. You know, I mentioned they had only shown a handful of books, right around 60 books or so, but a lot of those were double bagged, so I ended up with nearly a short box of comics in this collection, but I wanted to go over some of those highlights and just, you know, express how popular my Craigslist ad has been over these last 3 weeks. Let's see if I can get a 4th week out of this in a row. I don't have my hopes up for that. You know, it's kind of been quite a while since anybody reached out to me based off of my Craigslist ad. I think it had been like 6 months or so, and then just 3 in a row here. So the odds of me getting a 4th week in a row of someone offering up a collection, probably not the best odds. All right, well, that's going to do it for this one. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And until next time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.